In 1912, a Polish family in Pittsburgh survived 3 months on a single cabbage. Not one cabbage per week, one cabbage total. The mother shredded half of it into sauerkraut that fermented in a crock under the stairs. The fermentation created enough volume to fill 12 jars. The other half was used fresh in soup, in pierogis, in borscht, stretched across 90 days of meals through techniques that transformed one vegetable into a dozen different forms. That cabbage cost 8 cents. It kept a family of 6 alive through winter. Number 18 on this list uses a fermentation process that modern food scientists now understand prevents scurvy, supports gut health, and creates vitamin C where none existed before, but that immigrant grandmothers knew simply as the thing that kept you from getting sick in January. Number 11 required saving and reusing cooking water across multiple meals because water itself was scarce in tenement buildings where one tap served 4 families. And number 1, the meal that defined Eastern European immigrant survival more than any other, combined 2 cheap ingredients in a way that creates complete protein without meat and has sustained humans through harsh winters for 1,000 years. These meals were not recipes brought from the old country and preserved out of nostalgia. They were survival technologies, developed through centuries of winter scarcity in Eastern Europe, then adapted to American tenement poverty, where the winters were just as brutal, but the ingredients were different. Hit subscribe, because what you are about to learn is why your great-grandmother could keep a family healthy on $3 a week, and why that knowledge is not quaint history, but applicable biology that still works today. Let us count down. Number 25. Cabbage soup with sour cream. This was water, cabbage, onion, and a dollop of sour cream stirred in at the end. No stock, no meat, just vegetables and cultured dairy. A head of cabbage cost 5 cents in 1915. An onion was 2 cents. Sour cream was made at home by letting cream sit at room temperature until bacteria soured it, which cost nothing beyond the time. This soup cost 7 cents and fed 6 people. The cabbage provided vitamin C and fiber. The sour cream provided fat and beneficial bacteria that supported digestion. The combination kept immigrant families healthy through winters when fresh vegetables were unavailable and expensive. The sour cream was not optional flavoring. It was the delivery mechanism for bacteria that prevented digestive problems in diets heavy on preserved foods. Immigrant grandmothers did not know the word probiotic, but they knew that food without sour cream made you sick, and food with it kept you healthy. Number 24. Kasha with mushrooms. Kasha, toasted buckwheat groats, was cooked in water until tender, then mixed with mushrooms that had been foraged from parks and vacant lots. Buckwheat cost 6 cents per pound in 1918. The mushrooms were free if you knew which species were safe. This meal cost about 8 cents and fed 4 people. Buckwheat is one of the few grains that contains all essential amino acids, making it a complete protein without meat. The mushrooms added B vitamins and umami flavor that made the grain palatable. Kasha appeared at dinner tables several times per week in Russian and Ukrainian immigrant households. The grain traveled well from the old country because it stored indefinitely and required no refrigeration. The knowledge of mushroom identification came from childhood training in Eastern Europe, where foraging was an essential survival skill. That knowledge did not transfer to American-born children because American schools taught that mushrooms were dangerous, and foraging was something poor people did. Number 23. Farmer cheese made from soured milk. When milk soured, which happened frequently before refrigeration was reliable, people heated it gently until the curds separated from the whey. The curds were drained in cheesecloth, producing farmer cheese that was eaten with bread, mixed into pierogis, or eaten plain with salt and pepper. A quart of milk cost 10 cents. When the milk soured, it was not discarded. It was transformed into cheese, recovering the food value that would otherwise be lost. The whey, the liquid left after cheese making, was used in soup or fed to pets. Nothing was wasted. Farmer cheese appeared whenever milk soured, which was predictable in summer and sporadic in winter. Cheesemaking was not planned, it was a response to spoilage that prevented waste. Number 22. Beet soup with vinegar. Beets were boiled until tender. The cooking liquid became the soup base. Vinegar was added for tartness, and a little sugar balanced the acid. Sour cream was stirred in before serving. This was borscht in its humblest form. A bunch of beets cost 7 cents in 1920. The vinegar was pennies. The soup cost about 10 cents and fed 6 people. Beets provide folate, manganese, and nitrates that improve cardiovascular function. The soup delivered these nutrients in liquid form that was easy to digest. Borscht appeared at every meal throughout fall and winter when beets were harvested and stored. The beets kept for months in root cellars, which meant borscht was available even in February when nothing else from the garden remained. The soup was not a delicacy. It was the vegetable that lasted longest, served in the simplest possible form. Number 21st. Pierogies filled with potato and cheese. Dough made from flour, egg, and water was rolled thin and cut into circles. Each circle was filled with mashed potatoes, mixed with farmer cheese, folded into a half moon, and sealed. The pierogies were boiled until they floated, then fried in butter or bacon grease. A batch of 40 pierogies cost approximately 35 cents for flour, eggs, potatoes, and cheese. The batch fed 8 people for 2 meals. Pierogies were not everyday food. They were special occasion food that required time and multiple people working together. The dough had to be rolled thin without tearing. The filling had to be the right consistency. The sealing had to be perfect, or they opened during boiling. These pierogies represented labor-intensive cooking that happened on Sundays or holidays when time existed. The pierogies could be frozen after boiling and reheated later, which made them valuable for creating food security. A batch made on Sunday provided quick meals throughout the week. Number 20. Pickled herring. Herring was the cheapest fish available in American cities. It cost about 15 cents per pound in 1917. The herring was preserved in a vinegar brine with onions, bay leaves, and peppercorns. Pickling happened at home because pickled herring in the store cost twice as much as fresh herring. A jar of pickled herring lasted for weeks without refrigeration. The herring provided omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D. The pickling made the bones soft enough to eat, which added calcium. Pickled herring appeared at meals as protein when meat was unaffordable. A small piece of herring with bread and pickles was lunch. The herring was not delicious by modern standards. It was oily, fishy, and intensely salty. It was eaten because it was cheap protein that kept without spoiling. Number 19. Black bread. This was dense rye bread made from a mix of rye and wheat flour. The rye provided a sour, almost bitter flavor. The bread was heavy and filling. A loaf lasted a week if stored properly. Rye flour cost 4 cents per pound, cheaper than wheat flour at 6 cents. The bread cost about 12 cents per loaf and provided starches for the entire week. Black bread was sliced thin and eaten with everything, with soup, with herring, with cheese. The bread was not light or fluffy. It was intended to fill stomachs and provide lasting energy. Rye bread appears in every Eastern European culture because rye grew in climates where wheat failed. The grain survived harsh winters that killed wheat. The bread made from it sustained people through those same winters. Number 18. Sauerkraut. Cabbage was shredded, salted, packed into crocks, and fermented for several weeks. People did not understand fermentation as bacterial action producing lactic acid and vitamin C. They understood it as the process that kept cabbage edible through winter and that prevented scurvy. A 20-pound crock of sauerkraut cost approximately 40 cents for cabbage and salt. The crock provided sauerkraut through the entire winter, appearing at every meal. Sauerkraut provided vitamin C when fresh vegetables were not available. The fermentation also created probiotics that supported gut health in diets heavy on preserved meats and grains. Eastern European immigrants who ate sauerkraut regularly stayed healthier than those who did not. The correlation was observed without understanding the mechanism. The knowledge that sauerkraut prevented sickness was enough to make it mandatory. Number 17. Potato pancakes. Potatoes were grated, mixed with egg, a little flour, and salt, then fried in oil or lard. The pancakes were served with sour cream or applesauce. A 5-pound bag of potatoes cost 14 cents in 1925. A batch of pancakes cost about 18 cents and served 6 people. Potato pancakes appeared whenever potatoes were abundant and whenever Sabbath or holiday meals required special preparation. The grating was labor-intensive. The frying required attention to prevent burning. The pancakes were not quick food. They were the transformation of cheap potatoes into something that felt celebratory through careful technique. Number 16. Stuffed cabbage. Cabbage leaves were softened by boiling the whole head. A filling of rice, ground meat if there was any, or just rice if there was not, and onion was wrapped in the leaves. The rolls were packed into a pot and covered with tomato sauce or tomato juice. The pot simmered for hours. Cabbage cost 5 cents per head. Rice was 7 cents per pound. The stuffed cabbage cost about 30 cents with meat, 20 cents without. The meal fed 6 people. Stuffed cabbage appeared at holidays and celebrations. The preparation required time and skill. The leaves had to be softened without tearing. The filling had to be the right consistency. The rolling had to be tight enough to hold, but not so tight it burst during cooking. The dish demonstrated cooking competence. A woman who could make good stuffed cabbage was a woman who understood cooking. Number 15. Lentil soup. Brown lentils, onion, carrot, celery if available, and water were simmered until the lentils broke down into a thick soup. A ham bone added flavor if one existed. A pound of lentils cost 10 cents. The soup cost about 15 cents and fed 8 people. Lentils provide complete protein when combined with grains. Served with bread, the soup delivered all essential amino acids. Lentil soup appeared weekly in households that could not afford meat regularly. Lentils were cheaper than beans, cooked faster, and delivered equivalent nutrition. The soup was thick enough to be filling without needing large quantities. Number 14. Cucumber salad with sour cream. Cucumbers were sliced thin, salted and drained to remove excess water. Sour cream was mixed with vinegar and dill, and the cucumbers were dressed with the sour cream mixture. This was summer food when cucumbers were cheap. 1 pound of cucumbers cost 5 cents. The salad cost about 8 cents and served 4 people. The cucumbers provided hydration and some vitamins. The sour cream provided fat and probiotics. The salad was refreshing in summer heat and used vegetables that were too abundant to eat fresh before they spoiled. The salting and draining removed water that would dilute the dressing and made the cucumbers crispy rather than limp. Number 13. Kielbasa and sauerkraut. Kielbasa, Polish sausage, was sliced and fried or boiled. Sauerkraut was heated with the kielbasa, and the combination was served with boiled potatoes or bread. Kielbasa cost about 35 cents per pound, making it expensive. A little kielbasa, stretched with a lot of sauerkraut, created a meal where the sausage flavor permeated everything without requiring large quantities of meat. This meal cost about 40 cents and fed 6 people. Kielbasa appeared at Sunday dinners and special occasions. The sausage was too expensive for daily consumption, but affordable weekly if stretched properly. The combination of meat fat and fermented vegetables created a kind of satisfaction that plain vegetables could not. Number 12. Chicken soup from feet and neck. When a chicken was killed, every part was used. The feet and neck, which had minimal meat, were simmered for hours to create a rich broth. The small amount of meat from these parts was divided among the servings. Vegetables, usually carrots, celery, and onion, were added. Egg noodles were cooked in the broth. The soup cost 30 cents and fed 8 people. The feet provided collagen that created a gelatinous, nourishing broth. The neck provided deep flavor. The combination produced a soup that tasted like it contained far more chicken than it actually did. This was stretching meat through technique. The expensive ingredient, chicken, was present in minimal quantity, but its value was maximized by extracting every possible component. Number 11. Potato soup, made with water saved from boiling other vegetables. Water was scarce in tenement buildings, where one tap served multiple families. Water used to boil vegetables for one meal was saved and used as the base for soup the next day. The vegetable water contained dissolved starches, vitamins, and minerals. Potatoes were diced and cooked in this saved water. The resulting soup had more flavor and more nutrition than soup made from plain water. The practice cost nothing, and it recovered food value that would otherwise go down the drain. The saved water was not treated as waste. It was an ingredient created during one cooking process and then used in another. The water contained vitamins that are water-soluble, which means they leach into cooking water and are lost if the water is discarded. Saving the water meant keeping those vitamins. Number 10. Kasha varnishkes. Kasha is toasted buckwheat groats, cooked and mixed with bow-tie pasta and fried onions. The combination appeared regularly on Jewish immigrant tables. Buckwheat cost 6 cents per pound. Pasta was 8 cents. Onions were 2 cents. The dish cost about 18 cents and fed 6 people. The buckwheat provided complete protein. The pasta provided additional carbohydrates, and the onions provided flavor. Together, they created a filling meal without meat. Kasha varnishkes was not a recipe immigrants chose to make because they preferred it. It was a recipe that worked economically and nutritionally under constraints where meat was unaffordable and meals had to be cheap. Number 9. Beet and potato salad. Boiled beets and potatoes were diced and mixed with sauerkraut juice and a little oil. The salad was served cold. Beets cost 7 cents per bunch. Potatoes were 14 cents for 5 pounds. The salad cost about 12 cents and served 6 people. The beets provided vitamins and the intensely red color that made the salad look substantial. The potatoes provided bulk. The sauerkraut juice provided acid and salt that dressed the salad without requiring purchased vinegar. The salad appeared in summer when beets and potatoes were fresh, and in winter when both had been stored in root cellars. Number 8. Bread kvass. Stale black bread was torn into pieces and soaked in water with sugar and yeast. The mixture fermented for several days. The resulting liquid was strained and drunk as a beverage. Kvass was slightly alcoholic, slightly sour, and tasted like liquid bread. The bread that was too stale to eat was transformed into a drink. The transformation used ingredients that would otherwise be wasted. Kvass cost approximately 8 cents for the sugar and yeast. The bread was stale and would have been discarded. The drink provided hydration, some calories, and small amounts of B vitamins. Kvass appeared in summer when fermentation happened quickly and when hydration needs were high. First pattern break. Here is what fermentation actually means beyond the chemistry. Fermentation is controlled decomposition. You create conditions where beneficial bacteria thrive and harmful bacteria cannot survive. The conditions are usually acid and salt. The beneficial bacteria produce lactic acid as a byproduct of consuming sugars. The acid lowers the pH enough that spoilage bacteria cannot grow. The food remains edible for months without refrigeration. This is preservation through biology rather than through heat or freezing. Eastern European immigrants understood fermentation in their bones. Sauerkraut, pickles, kvass, sour cream, farmer cheese, all relied on fermentation. The techniques were taught through demonstration and practice, not through explanation of bacterial action. You learned by making sauerkraut with your mother, by watching the bubbles form and smelling the sourness develop, by tasting it at different stages until you recognized when it was ready. The knowledge was sensory, not intellectual. Modern cooking has eliminated most fermentation. We refrigerate instead. We use vinegar for pickling instead of allowing vegetables to ferment naturally. We buy sour cream instead of culturing cream. We buy cheese instead of making it from soured milk. The elimination happened because refrigeration made fermentation unnecessary for preservation. We gained consistency and safety. We lost the beneficial bacteria that fermented foods contain. The bacteria supported gut health in ways that modern nutrition science is only beginning to understand. Immigrant families eating fermented foods daily had healthier digestive systems than modern families eating refrigerated but non-fermented foods. The connection was not understood then. It is being rediscovered now. The fermentation knowledge that immigrants brought from Eastern Europe and practiced in American tenements was not primitive food handling. It was advanced biological manipulation that kept food safe and people healthy without technology. Number 7. Stuffed peppers with rice. Bell peppers or banana peppers were hollowed out and filled with rice, mixed with a little ground meat, or with just rice and onions. The peppers were packed into a pot and covered with tomato sauce. The pot simmered for hours. Peppers cost 5 cents each. Rice was 7 cents per pound. The dish cost about 30 cents with meat, 20 cents without. The meal fed 6 people. The peppers provided vitamin C and served as a vessel that turned plain rice into a full meal. The long cooking time softened the peppers and allowed the rice to absorb the tomato flavor. Stuffed peppers appeared in late summer when peppers were cheap, and again in winter when preserved peppers or the last of the stored peppers were used. Number 6. Mushroom barley soup. Dried mushrooms, barley, onions, carrots, and water. The mushrooms were foraged in late summer and dried for storage. Before cooking, the dried mushrooms were soaked and reconstituted in water. Barley was added and simmered until tender. The mushrooms provided an intense umami flavor that made the soup taste like it contained meat. Dried mushrooms cost nothing because they were foraged and dried at home. Barley cost 6 cents per pound. The soup cost about 10 cents and fed 8 people. The barley supplied carbohydrates and some protein. The mushrooms supplied B vitamins and concentrated flavor. Together, they created a filling and satisfying soup without meat. Mushroom barley soup appeared in winter, when dried mushrooms and stored barley were the available ingredients. Number 5. Boiled potatoes with butter and dill. This was not a recipe. This was what you served when there was nothing else. Potatoes boiled in salted water until tender. Butter if there was any. Fresh or dried dill. This meal cost about 12 cents and fed 6 people. The potatoes provided carbohydrates and potassium. The butter provided fat. The dill provided flavor that made plain potatoes bearable. Boiled potatoes appeared at dinner tables several times per week in households where meat was rare and vegetables were limited. The potatoes were not a side dish. they were the meal. The dill was not garnish, it was the thing that made eating potatoes for the 4th time this week possible. Number 4. Cabbage noodles. Cabbage was shredded fine, then fried in butter or oil with onions until caramelized. Egg noodles were cooked separately and drained, then the cabbage and noodles were mixed together. This dish cost about 20 cents and fed 6 people. Cabbage cost 5 cents per head, and egg noodles were 12 cents per pound. The caramelization of the cabbage created a gentle sweetness that balanced the plain noodles. The butter or oil added fat, making the dish satisfying. Cabbage noodles appeared whenever cabbage was abundant. The shredding and long cooking time meant this was not quick food. It was the transformation of cheap ingredients through labor and heat into something that tasted better than the sum of its parts. Number 3. Potato and onion pierogies. This was the most common pierogi filling because potatoes and onions were always available and always cheap. The potato filling was mashed potatoes mixed with fried onions. The pierogies were made in large batches and frozen or refrigerated for later use. A batch of 50 pierogies cost approximately 35 cents and provided meals for a week. The pierogies were boiled and then fried in butter or bacon grease before serving. Sour cream was dolloped on top. These potato and onion pierogies were not special food like cheese-filled pierogies. They were everyday food, made special through technique and labor. The dough had to be right. The filling had to be seasoned properly. The sealing had to be perfect. All of this showed that someone truly cared enough to do the work. Number 2. Split pea soup with a ham bone. Yellow split peas, a ham bone if one existed, or just the peas if not, onion, carrot, and water. Simmered until the peas dissolved into a thick soup. A pound of split peas cost 9 cents. The ham bone came from preserved ham. The soup cost about 12 cents and fed 8 people. Split peas provide protein and fiber. The soup was thick enough to be filling without requiring bread. The ham bone added flavor and made the soup taste like it contained substantial meat, even when only a bone remained. Split pea soup appeared throughout winter as one of the standard soups that required no fresh ingredients. The peas stored indefinitely. Root vegetables were kept in cellars. The soup could be made at any time from stored ingredients. Second pattern break. Here is the economic genius that modern cooking has forgotten. Every dish on this list optimizes for nutrient density per dollar. Not taste, not convenience, not novelty. Nutrient density per dollar. Buckwheat provided complete protein for 6 cents per pound. Meat provided incomplete protein for 40 cents per pound. Cabbage fermented into sauerkraut provided vitamin C for 5 cents per head and lasted 6 months. Fresh oranges provided vitamin C for 30 cents per dozen and lasted 1 week. The math is not complicated. Fermented cabbage delivered 6 times the vitamin C duration for 1/6 the cost. These Eastern European immigrant meals were not chosen because they tasted good, though some of them did. They were chosen because they maximized nutrition for minimal cost and could be made from ingredients that stored without refrigeration. This created food security through knowledge rather than through wealth. A family with $3 per week and knowledge of fermentation, root vegetable storage, and complete protein combinations could stay healthy. A family with $5 per week, but without that knowledge, would suffer deficiencies. The knowledge was worth more than the money. That is what modern cooking has lost. We have money, but we lack knowledge. We know how to follow recipes, but we do not know which foods provide complete nutrition for minimal cost. We know how to refrigerate, but we do not know how to ferment. We know how to buy meat, but we do not know how to combine grains to create complete protein without meat. The immigrant meals represented concentrated nutritional knowledge developed through centuries of scarcity. That knowledge kept people healthy under conditions that would defeat modern eaters who depend on expensive proteins and year-round produce. The question is whether the knowledge still matters. If food remains cheap and available, perhaps it does not. If food systems become disrupted through climate, economics, or supply chain failures, the knowledge becomes essential again. The immigrant grandmothers who made these meals are mostly dead. The knowledge they carried is mostly gone. Whether that loss matters depends on whether you believe the future will resemble the recent past, or whether scarcity might return. Number 1. Borscht with sour cream and dark bread. Borscht sat at the top of this list because it encompassed everything immigrant families needed. Beets were boiled until tender, and the cooking liquid became the base. Cabbage and potatoes were added, onion and carrot when available. The soup simmered until all the vegetables were soft. Served with a large dollop of sour cream stirred in, and dark rye bread for soaking, the meal stretched small resources. Borscht cost approximately 25 cents, and it fed 8 people for 2 meals. The beets provided folate, manganese, and nitrates. The cabbage provided vitamin C and fiber. The potatoes provided carbohydrates. The sour cream provided fat and probiotics. The dark bread provided additional carbohydrates and B vitamins from the rye. Together, these ingredients were nutrient-dense and practically complete. All essential vitamins, complete carbohydrates, and adequate protein when the bread was included, plus beneficial bacteria for gut health. A family that ate borscht twice weekly with dark bread and sour cream was adequately nourished, even if they ate almost nothing else. This was not theoretical, it was observed reality. Settlement house workers, doctors treating immigrant communities, and social workers tracking family health all reported the same correlation. Families maintaining old country food practices stayed healthier. Families abandoning them suffered deficiencies. The reason was nutrient density. Borscht with sour cream and dark bread delivered more nutrition per dollar than any available alternative. But families abandoning it were not making nutritional choices. They were making cultural choices. Eating borscht marked you as foreign. Eating American food marked you as assimilated. Children wanted to assimilate. They rejected borscht as embarrassing ethnic food. They wanted hamburgers and white bread and Coca-Cola. Parents understood that borscht kept you healthy and hamburgers did not. But the cultural pressure to assimilate was stronger than the knowledge that the old foods worked. Borscht disappeared from immigrant tables not because it failed, but because keeping it meant staying foreign, staying poor, staying excluded, staying other. The American dream required abandoning the foods that had kept your family alive. The dream was worth it for the opportunities it provided, but it came at the cost of nutritional knowledge that had sustained people through conditions far harsher than American poverty. The borscht represented everything Eastern European immigrants brought: survival knowledge, fermentation technique, root vegetable storage, and the understanding that cheap ingredients prepared correctly deliver better nutrition than expensive ingredients prepared poorly. All of it was embedded in a bowl of soup that cost 25 cents and fed 8 people. The soup disappeared. The knowledge disappeared with it. Here is the challenge. Go to a grocery store with $3. That was the weekly food budget for an immigrant family of 6 in 1920. Buy ingredients that will feed you for a week. You can buy dried beans, flour, potatoes, cabbage, onions, carrots, beets. You cannot buy meat except in tiny quantities. You cannot buy prepared foods. You cannot buy anything that requires refrigeration because you do not have a refrigerator. Make meals from what you bought using only salt, heat, and time as your tools. No refrigerator, No freezer, no internet recipes, just the ingredients and your knowledge of what can be done with them. Most people will fail at this challenge, not because they lack cooking ability, but because they lack the recognition of what food is and what can be done with it. Eastern European immigrants succeeded at this challenge every single week. They succeeded because they brought knowledge from the old country where succeeding at this challenge was normal life. The knowledge kept them alive in America. The knowledge was not preserved because it became unnecessary. We can afford to buy meat. We can afford refrigerators. We can afford variety. The knowledge that was essential became obsolete. Whether it should be preserved anyway, as insurance against a future where it might become essential again, is the question these meals ask but cannot answer. Drop in the comments. Whether you could feed yourself for a week on $3. I want to know if anyone has the knowledge to do what immigrant grandmothers did routinely, or whether that knowledge has been completely lost. Because these meals were not quaint ethnic food, they were proof that humans can stay healthy on minimal resources if they understand nutrition, fermentation, and storage. The understanding kept millions alive. The understanding is mostly gone. Whether it should be recovered or whether it can simply remain historical curiosity depends on what you think the future holds.